Okay, so let's jump into this. The National Assembly passes the bill to abolish the prosecutor's office. So this was interesting for me because I had a hard time kind of wrapping my head around exactly what does that mean, right? The National Assembly, what they did essentially is they created a bill. And here, let's just lock in here. This is from the Korean Herald. Bill dismantling prosecutor's office, reorganizing ministries passes assembly. South Korea's National Assembly on Friday approved a bill dismantling the country's central prosecutorial body, splitting its power of investigation and indictment between the newly created agencies. It says the amendment to the Government Organization Act passed by 174 to 1 with 5 abstentions and only a total of 180 lawmakers participating in the vote. The PPP boycotted this. Now, what does all this mean? What does all this really mean for the average Korean, right? Well, I think there was a really good article, and I am going to butcher. I'm going to butcher the name of this organization, so I'm going to just leave it there for you to see. But they wrote a really good article kind of breaking down why the general public wanted this done. But to give a little bit of context first, so the prosecutor general is the equivalent of what's in the United States, the attorney general. And in the United States, the attorney general cannot initiate an investigation into anyone, right? That's for the Department of Justice. Department of Justice initiates an investigation into criminal offenses or criminal acts. And then, hope I'm making this clear, and then they pass that off to the attorney general's office, who prosecutes said investigation, right? They can choose to prosecute. They can choose to say, well, there's not enough evidence here for conviction, or, okay, actually, yeah, there's enough evidence here. We're going to take this to trial. The difference in the Korean system, or at least what the difference was in the Korean system, and if anyone wants to correct me in the comments, feel free. But to my understanding, what the difference is in the Korean system is the prosecutor general can order an investigation into someone and have someone within the prosecutor's office investigate whomever. And so there becomes this conflict of interest of priorities because the prosecutor general answers directly to the president, right? And so where the problems lie is, priorities. The prosecutor general, or in the U.S., the attorney general and the Department of Justice have two totally different sets of priorities, right? They're independent organizations, whereas here, if the investigative mandate can come down from the same person who's doing the prosecutorial mandate, that leads to corruption. And I think there's this really good article, and we'll read it, and it's a lot, but I think it is worth hearing what they say, because they lay it out pretty clearly here. The independence and fairness of investigations became compromised due to the vested interests of those in power, earning the Prosecution Service a reputation as a political agency. This service's own unseen system of promoting prosecutors who oversaw investigations of politicians to key positions in exchange, steering investigations to align with the administration's interest, only added to this reputation. The investigation into former President Roh Moo-hyun, I'm butchering these names, so sorry, which led to his tragic death in 2009, became the direct catalyst for reforming Korea's prosecution apparatus. The SPO's Central Investigation, the Supreme Prosecutor's Office Central Investigation Department, which had handled the case, was disbanded in 2013 when Park Geun-hye administration took office, after it came under fire for what many saw as a politically retaliatory investigation. So essentially, that investigation was led not because there was any direct evidence or an investigation done by the Justice Department or the Korean equivalent of the Justice Department, but that there was an order from on high to investigate him, which led to his tragic death. It continues. It was around this time that those within political circles and civil society realized that allowing the prosecution to wield both investigative and prosecutorial powers was the structural rot of their abuse of authority. Public outrage towards prosecutors grew when the prosecutor general, and also former president, Yoon Suk-yeol, conducted sweeping investigations by mobilizing special investigation units to probe the family of then Justice Minister Cho Kuk. The Yoon administration, which allowed a former prosecutor general to leap up in the ranks directly to be president, saw the prosecution launch blatantly biased investigations that pandered to those in power. The sweeping investigations into now President Lee Jae-myung, the leader of the opposition at the time, were lambasted as retaliatory and intended to humiliate him. Now, that's to be debated and whatnot. I don't really have any particular insight on if it was prosecutorial abuse. However, it doesn't negate the appearance of prosecutorial abuse. If there is appearances can be reality. Appearances are reality, whether it's happening or not. What the general public see, what they're seeing from the administration, becomes the reality. So if it seems like it is targeting of the political enemies, if it seems like it is happening, that is what the general public is going to more than likely believe, because, well, I can't trust the institution. And this is what it comes back to. Faith in the institution was lost. And I think that is something that you can't undo. That when there is faith lost in said institutions, that the general public, how does the general public trust it? If I don't know if the investigation was launched because I said something you didn't like or I did something you didn't like, and there's no accountability, like there's no internal mechanisms that are public, how is the public supposed to have faith in these institutions? So I think overall that this is a good direction for them to go in. It's in line with many European and American countries where there is a separation of powers. I mean, a check on that power, having the concentration of power like that all in one place doesn't particularly make too much sense to me. And so I think overall that this is a step in the right direction for the general public. I think. And it says in this article that hang on, let me see if I can find it. It says in this article that the two agencies that are going to be formed out of this is one's going to be I lost it, but there's going to be two agencies formed out of this, and I think that is for the betterment of Korea. That no longer is this apparatus allowed to just exist on its own to do both investigative work and the prosecutorial work. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked that video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And if you have a comment, go ahead and leave it down there in the comments. Thank you. See you in the next one.